Hello, dear friends. Pirkei Avot, chapter 3. During the summer, I've been teaching sometimes Pirkei Avot on Shabbat in the afternoon because it's our minhag to do so until Rosh Hashanah. So the third chapter, Akavia Ben Nehalalel. Who was Akavia Ben Nehalalel? The Mishnah in Aduyot in Ezekiel says about Akavia Ben Nehalalel. That's Aduyot, chapter 5, Mishnah 6. It's a long Mishnah, but it says about Rabbi Yehuda says about Akavia Nehalalel, Ein azaranin elet bifnei kol adam Yisrael b'chokhma v'yirat chet Akavia Ben Nehalalel, which means there is nobody compatible to Akavia Ben Nehalalel in wisdom and in the fear of sin. So he was considered a great man. And the Mishnah tells a story. Mishnah also, in the same Mishnah, there were 4 things about Akavia Ben Nehalalel that he disagreed with the Chachamim. And when he disagreed with the Chachamim said to him about these 4 items, Chazor b'cha, change your mind and agree with us, and we will make you the advie. Now, he lived during the time of Hillel the Elder, who was the Nasi, of course. Of course, this could be slightly after that. And then said, we'll make you the head of the Beit Din. Of course, the Nasi was supposed to be from Davidic descent, but you could be the head of the Beit Din. There's always the president and the advie. He said to them, Mutavli likarei shoteh, I'd rather be called an ignoramus or an idiot all my life and not to do something which I consider wrong before God. Because I don't want people saying, well, he did it just for the kavod, just for the honor, or for the position of power. And then they spell out what the 4 things were. And before he died, his son said to him, no, why did you do this? And he said, because I received a tradition that these 4 items, the previous generation of sages, in their majority agreed on these things. So I could not give in to the majority of the Chachamim in this generation when the previous generation, the majority of the scholars said, according to the way I do. Said, but if you want to change your mind, he said to his son, and accept this generation of scholars, that's okay, because you're hearing it just for me. And I'm telling you, I know it was before, so I could not change my position on these matters. Now we're talking about somebody who is totally, as we say in Hebrew, tocho kebaro, totally straight individual, totally honest, who cannot do anything against his moral conscience as a halachic decision maker. So, what is Akavia Ben Nehalalel? So he was not ever made the head of Sanhedrin because of that. So Akavia Ben Nehalalel says, Histakel b'shlosha dvarim. Look at 3 things. Ve'ein ata ba lidei avira, and you will never come to transgression. Da me'ayin bata, know where you came from. U'la'an hata olech, and where you are going. V'lifnei mi ata atid litein din v'cheshbon, and before whom you will give an accounting. Where did you come from? From a putrid drop. Where are you going? To the grave, which is a place of dirt and worms and maggots. And before whom are you going to give an accounting? Before the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He. This Mishnah, by the way, is recited very often at funerals here in Jerusalem. And it sounds very pessimistic. It's like quite bleak and depressing. Where did you come from? A putrid drop. Where are you going? I have a friend who, he used to be the rabbi in Bucharest for a number of years, Rabbi Shlomo Rosen. And one time he said, in my opinion, he said, This is the most optimistic Mishnah in all of the ethics of the followers of all the Pirkei Avot. Because what is it saying? It says, despite the fact that you seem to be insignificant because you came from that pewter drop, and despite the fact that you seem to be insignificant because when your life is over, you just land up in the grave with worms and maggots, there is something very positive here. And that is you will give an account, which means that somebody actually cares about everything that happened in your life. You know, people always say about people who care about, what they're going to say, what that's going to say, that person. Somebody once said, you don't know how little they actually do care about you at the end of the day. Right. But Akavia Ben Nehalalel says there is somebody who cares. God cares about everything in our lives, our successes, our failures, when we laugh and when we cry. It's an amazing thing to think about. Because we don't think that anybody cares. Even our parents, they care, but not about every little thing. Even the insignificant. At the end of our lives, God will give us accounting. He'll want to see what we did. He'll want to know, what do you think? Were you successful? And he watches all the time, but he wants to hear from us too. This is an amazing idea that somebody actually cares. That somebody actually cares. So this idea that somebody actually cares, that our life actually has meaning, and not just to anybody, but to the Holy One, blessed be He. So this really is an optimistic idea. Somebody actually cares about our seemingly worthless life. Somebody cares. Now, I'd like to go into this a little bit further. You see, there's something about life where it can be seen as insignificant. If you look at the world as something which is only physical, it's true. You came from a putrid drop and you're going into a grave, and that's life. It starts, it ends. Can't change that. Rules don't change the game. Can't change the rules of the game. You're born against your will, as it says here in Pirkei Avot, and you die against your will, as it says here in Pirkei Avot, and that's the way the game goes. And yeah, you have free choice in between. What you want to do with your life. That is the ultimate paradox of life, by the way. The ultimate paradox is that life makes no sense. I mean, there was a famous scientist who once said, look, the very fact that you were born means you won the lottery. Because what was the chance that you would be the one who would be born biologically? But okay, you want to call it winning the lottery? Okay, but you also lose the lottery because you die. 70, 80, 90, 100 years after that. That is the ultimate paradox of life. So, what is the meaning of this paradox? Sometimes I say to people, there are two ways to live the paradox of life. One is to go to a psychologist, because life has an absurdity within it. And that is, we're born in order to die. Life seems to be a terminal disease. But when you add to the equation that there is a God who cares about everything we do, it's a whole different scenario. It's a whole different way of looking at life. It's a way of, during your lifetime, transcending the world that you are within its boundaries and within its confinements. This is what Akavia Ben Nehalalel is saying. If you're able to understand that there is something beyond that transcends the regular world of space-time, then you will find that meaning that you are looking for. Because life, just from a material point of view, does not have that meaning. I'd like to go a little bit deeper into this Mishnah. Give it a slightly Kabbalistic twist, if that's okay. The hidden part of this Mishnah, in my opinion, is that there's a drasha, there's a homiletic interpretation of the word ayin, aleph, yud, nun, which literally means nothingness, the void. But it also means from where in Hebrew, me'ayin. Like King David says, me'ayin yavo ezri, in the songs of the ascent, in his Psalms of Tehillim. It says, da me'ayin bata. We can understand this as a question. That's the way it's usually understood. Where did you come from? But we can also understand it as a statement. No, you came from the ayin. In Hebrew, ayin means you came from nothingness. You know, the Jewish philosophers used to explain that the world was created ex nihilo, something from nothing. But the Kabbalists said that the nothing's also something, because the world was created something physical from nothingness, which is something spiritual. We just call it nothing because it appears nothing to our eyes, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just a different dimension. Call it spiritual if you want. So the world was actually not created ex nihilo. It was created yesh from ayin, which means from an infinite other reality where the world emanated from. As it says in the book of Job, V'ha-chokhmah, and wisdom, me'ayin timatzeh, which literally means, where does wisdom come from? The Kabbalists say, wisdom comes from the ayin. It comes from this level called the level of nothingness. In Kabbalistic literature, nothingness is called the highest level, the level of the crown, which sits upon the head. It's existence beyond our intellect of who we really are. So look what he's saying here. Dami ayin bata. Know that you as a human being, you actually come from a transcendental area because God gave you a soul. So you're from a transcendental plateau or a plane of life. But le'ana ta'olech. Again, if it's not a question, the question would be, where are you going to? Or could be the answer, or could be a statement. Le'an, you are going to a world of spatial time, of space and time. Le'an. Le'an means a world of space. You walk in a world, a spatial dimension. That's called an, where. That's where you walk. That's where you live. You live in a time-space world. So you came from transcendence because you have a soul. You were placed in a spatial world, in the time-space world. But you should know, lifnei mi, you're going to stand before whom, which means somebody personal who cares about your life. By the way, so let's take a look at these words. Ayin is aleph yud nun. That's the full word, aleph yud nun, and it means from, and in this case, it either means from where, or the Kabbalists explain it, it's the void, the ayin, the nothingness, transcendental. An is the word ayin without the yud. It's just the aleph nun. That's the word of space. We are world of space, which is missing the yud. And then the word mi, which in gematria numerical value is 50, equals the letter nun by itself, which is called the level of the 50 gates of wisdom, which is considered a transcendental level 2, before whom you're going to stand. So this whole drasha, this whole commentary is a commentary on the word ayin. The first word is the full word ayin, aleph yud nun. The second question has to do with just the aleph nun, and the third has to do only with the nun, which is the numerical value of the word mi. By the way, in Kabbalistic explanations, the aleph yud nun, for those who know Kabbalistic language, aleph represents the keter, yud represents chokhmah, and nun represents bina. But what does it mean? Now that we just through the Kabbalistic interpretation, what does it actually mean? It means very much what I said before. We come, as a soul, we come from a transcendental place. As the soul enters the body, we're now in the world of space-time, and we are trapped in this world of space-time. And this world of space-time contains within it an ultimate paradox. And the paradox is that you're born in order to die, which makes no sense. And the only way to make meaning out of that paradox of being born in order to die is that there's an accounting, that somebody cares. And what this means from a Kabbalistic point of view is that you're only confined within this world of space-time because your soul predated the world of space-time. It pre-existed. And as Rabbi Kook would write, and death is the big lie, because all it is releasing us back to this transcendental mode that we originally began in. So God wants to see how we work in this world. And as we know, people have a tendency to think that accomplishment, yes, let's build this, let's do that. But you don't take it with you. As King David says, Kiloba motoyu kachako. You can make a lot of money, can't take it with you. Build buildings, can't take them with you. Yeah, your children will take over your business and they'll destroy it because they don't know what they're doing. Spend all your money. As Ecclesiastes, Kohelet says. Accomplishment is where you're able to transform yourself as a human being. The things that you do of significance, the values that you encapsulate by whom you are, these are the things that you take with you. And that's the accounting that you're going to be giving before the Holy One, blessed be He. Shalom, shalom.